guys, welcome back to some more Bottom of the Well. So I think this is going to be a bit of a longer video, just so I can get through all the endings. So yeah, let's go ahead. So yeah, let's do custom. One in survival. 2 in fitness. 2 social life. 2 in supplies. And datiness. 2. Alright, we can skip this. This is basically like the beginning. Alright, so like I said, it was the end of the world. Everything I did that day felt like the real thing. Every smell, every sound, every color, every touch. It's important you know that I wasn't acting like I would in a dream. I didn't know it was a dream. Heavy. There was no warning, no build-up, nothing. Just between one moment and the next, the TV had turned to the emergency alert system. And this voice sounded like it had been recorded in the 60s, told us we were under attack. Were you alone? No, I was with Chus. We were on a date. We were kind of ignoring the movie, although I think it was the new Star Wars. Wait, who is Chus? My boyfriend. I mean, I don't have a boyfriend, but in the dream I did. He a hunk? I'll take that as a yes. What happened then? Like I said, the TV suddenly turned to the emergency alert system. Jacked the volume all the way up too. I didn't even know they could do that. Broadcast told us we were under attack right now and that we needed to get to shelter. That we had less than 30 minutes before the bombs hit. Sounds scary. At first I didn't want to believe it. I switched the channel, but they were all the same. And then the sirens started. Tornado sirens, flood sirens, I don't know. And I knew things were serious. So what did you do? Well, Chus was right there and he... Wait up, tell me more about this sudden new boyfriend of yours. I thought you weren't in the dating scene. Actually, I've been thinking about putting myself out there, like maybe some online dating or something. Although I'm kind of afraid to check OkCupid right now. What if there's a guy there named Chus? Good icebreaker. Hi, I'm Alice. I dreamed about you last night. You were my end-of-the-world buddy. Funny. Aren't I just... You were saying about Chus. What kind of a name is that anyway? I wasn't really. I mean, yeah, he was pretty hot, I guess. And smart, and into me. What more could you ask for? I can sense you blushing all the way over here. Maybe I should check my OkCupid profile, actually. So what did your boyfriend think? That's the thing. The moment they made the announcement, he got this face like panic. He tried calling the number, but the network was clogged. Then he jumped on my laptop for a moment to type up an email before basically just rushing towards the door. He said he had somewhere he needed to be. What, without you? Well, I told him to wait and explain. He looked like he wanted to jump out of his skin, but he told me he had to go look for his sister. That makes sense, I guess. What did you do? I asked him where she lives. And? In the boroughs outside town. That's pretty far, isn't it? It is, which is why he was in such a hurry. I wanted to ask if he needed help, but somehow it felt like I didn't. I mean, it felt like I would be imposing. You're weird, Al. So you just let him go? Yeah, well, just before he left, I made him tell me the address. Is it okay if I come check on you after? I asked. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. And then you kissed and hugged and that was that? Pretty much. After he left, I don't know. Had I made a mistake? Well, I knew that Chess wasn't going to wait for me. If I wanted to go with him, I had to go right away. Just grab my stuff and go. Making quick decisions in the spur of the moment. Doesn't sound like you, so what did you do? Alright, I went with Chess to help him out with his sister. So I decided to go with Chess. I mean, how couldn't I? He clearly needed help. Altruistic. How long had you been dating? Cynic. Long enough to know my feelings were real. I mean, they felt real in the dream. Where did the sister live again? In a borough, practically the suburbs, so pretty far. Chess said he usually takes the subway or a bus. Chess actually lived just down the street, and we always had a customary place to meet. We didn't even need to confirm the place anymore, but it didn't seem very likely we would be able to catch a bus or the subway. So how were you planning on getting to the sister in less than 30 minutes? Oh, spoiler, the bombs didn't start dropping on us within 30 minutes. It took longer than that. They did start though. That's lucky. Yeah, well, it didn't mean we weren't in a hurry. But you didn't leave empty-handed though, right? Alright, yes, I grabbed the biggest bag I had. A backpack. People always called it magic. You could fit so much into it. Bigger on the inside and all that. Alright, so take food, and flashlight. And yeah, that's it. Go on. Burrow, sister, bombs incoming. How did you plan to get there in the chaos? The chaos. Yeah, the streets were nuts. Everything and everyone was going crazy. Crashes everywhere, but no one was responding. The street was completely gridlocked. I'm talking maybe 15 minutes after the first announcement here. All it takes is a few cars in the wrong place. But you live pretty centrally, right? It had to be further out. Did Chess have a car? No, but if we wanted a car, there were tons around. People just left them, keys in the ignition, and ran. It really must have been bedlam. It was. I was so scared. So, steal a car or walk? We discussed walking. It was like 14 miles or something. It'd probably take at least 4 or 5 hours on a good day. And this wasn't a good day. Maybe a good start though. Things might clear up outside the downtown area. You might be able to steal a car there. Appropriate, a car. Stealing sounds so criminal. Whatever you say. Any other options except stealing? Appropriating a car and hoofing it? Something in between. I know a guy with a motorcycle. He really loves that motorcycle, but I wondered if maybe he'd be willing to borrow it. I mean, we were going to go rescue a disabled one. You know him well? Reasonably. I didn't know you knew how to drive a motorcycle. I'm a woman of many talents. So what did you do? We decided to walk out of the worst chaos. I decided walking was the best option. The whole downtown area was gridlocked, cars everywhere, people running down the sidewalks, and the sirens blaring. It was like one of those disaster movies. No hope of driving anywhere, at any rate. But where was everyone going? Most of them were going home, I think. People were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And there you were, running away from home. Once I made my decision, I stuck to it, no matter how much I was filled with doubt. Half an hour was nothing at all, but luckily that estimate was completely wrong. Sometimes I'll walk half an hour in the wrong direction just because I stubbornly refuse to believe I'm lost. I didn't know what was the right direction, but I did try to get wherever I was going as fast as possible. I stayed off the major roads, and especially roads that I knew led towards metro stations. Not that I was the only one who'd gotten that grand idea. Was there any danger? Like people attacking each other or something? No, I thought we were all going in the same direction, but then I realized that the crowd was heading somewhere I hadn't planned to go, a subway station. What did you do? I elbowed a few people and ducked and weaved my way out of there before I was swept too far along, but I did lose precious time. Time, yes. Isn't that the thing you're fighting here? How far away were you planning on getting? Well, a lot further than I had gotten at that point. I could practically still see my apartment building, but the crowd was slowly thinning, at least, and I actually saw a vehicle in motion, an ambulance, weaving between stalled cars with the sirens blaring. What did you do? Kept walking, intending to get away from danger before I had to stop walking. Just a single-mindedness was what led me. I was pretty sure this was a monumental mistake and that we'd get caught outside and killed for sure, but I couldn't just leave him, so we kept walking. So how did that work out for you? You think it was easy? People had driven out into the sidewalks and left their cars. Everything was a mess. I tried going down the main highway, but it proved pointless and I had to backtrack. I didn't say it was easy. Did you consider running? I half ran and jogged as much as I could, but it felt like being late for a class. I got tired almost immediately, while the goal was still as far away as ever. Chess wanted to go faster, but he slowed down when he saw I was struggling. The worried look on his face went nowhere, though. And, well, once I got away from the downtown area, things were much smoother. I ran as fast as I could, as far as I could. No bombs, still no bombs. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my luck, but I knew I was pushing it now. What did you do? We were getting closer, so we kept walking. You actually made it that far? How long was it until the bombs actually hit? I'm not entirely sure, but something like 2 hours? I think they hit everywhere else before they hit us. I'm not really sure why. Missile shield? Do we have one of those? Anyway, I knew that us getting this far was a miracle. Whatever hope we might have of finding a better shelter than Tress's sister's house was nil. I told him that, and he agreed. All they wanted to do was to get there. So, was she there? Come on, this is exciting. We went up to the door and Chess started banging on it. After a few minutes, it opened on the chain, and I could just barely see a mop of pale hair and scared eyes. He told her it was him, and she immediately opened the door and jumped in his arms. Jumped? So not a physical disability? It was, but she wasn't wheelchair-bound constantly. There was, however, a wheelchair in the entry hall. Anyway, we didn't really have time for necessities. I don't know what that word is. The bombs were coming. Right. Miss Pragmatic. So, battle plan? Well, I tried looking for a basement, but the place didn't have one. So I suggested building a little fort out of furniture in the living room, hoping the roof wouldn't come crashing down. What about, like, food and things? Whatever the cupboard contained, we took with us to our shelter, of course, and tried to protect it as best we could. So, the bombs, they actually hit then, in the dream. The first thing that happened was the windows blew in. I just closed my eyes and pulled up my knees and made myself as small as possible. Tress held his sister. The bombing continued for I don't know how long, but aside from the windows, we seemed to be pretty okay. Imagine what it must have been like downtown. I didn't want to think about what it was like downtown. It was scary enough out there. A few cars drove past and I heard sirens. At one point I ventured out to glance out the window once the bombs had stopped hitting and I saw a city center in flames. But at least you got out. How long did you wait in the house? For 24 hours. I don't know how safe the house was from fallout, really. Windows blasted open and all that, but it was probably safer than walking the streets. And as long as I only ate the uncontaminated food, it ought to be okay, I thought. So you ate through all your supplies and then... I wanted to keep going. There were a lot of other survivors on the road as well, and soon enough the rumors started circulating. There was a government evacuation center set up in the old college. Everyone was going there. The college? As in your college? Yep, talk about coming back to the beginning. Anyway, that's where everyone was headed. There was just one minor problem. Oh? The river. There's a river? Not something I had thought about either. I didn't live anywhere near it, so whenever I crossed it, I just drove over it. But there it was, a geographical reality. So, I mean, the bridges were surely still there. True, but when we approached them, we realized they were occupied. Uh-oh, by whom? I'm not sure. I saw them from afar and kind of ducked into cover. I saw immediately they weren't good news. They had guns and were harassing the other people who come to the bridge. I think they were mugging them. Did they let anyone pass? Yes, some, but I didn't know what the price was, or if they had some other criteria for letting people through. So what did you do? I went up to them and confronted them. Brave. I wasn't going to let them scare me. So what were they? Just thugs? Part opportunists? Part worried townsfolk. They claimed that they were protecting their part of the town from riffraff who were coming down from the city trying to steal all of their uncontaminated food. That this was just a kind of concerned citizens roadblock, conveniently in the way towards the main evacuation center. Yeah, but, well, I mean, they had a lot of guns, but I didn't really detect a lot of malice in them. It didn't seem like they particularly wanted to use them. So what did you do? I tried talking my way through. Oh yes, the famous fast talk. How did that go? I didn't fast talk, I just told them the truth. I was there to help Chester and his sister across. I told them the incredibly lengths we'd gone to get to where we were. I just told the truth. Did that just work? They said they could let Chess and Herb through. I would still need to be checked for supplies. And it was fine, just as I was going through, though one of them stopped me and asked if I had any more than that. I knew they were actually highwaymen. I told him the truth. No. I had food for exactly 1 day. He grabbed my pack and raffled through it, but I was telling the truth. Disappointed, he handed it back and let me through. And I think that might be it. No. So the evacuation center, my college, I'm not surprised I dreamed about it. It's like at the center of my life right now. Is this the part where the dream turns weird and college starts sprouting legs and begins smoking or something? Unfortunately, no. That would have been a pretty welcome respite. Even so, it must have been a respite. Proof that society survived. The United States weren't completely obliterated. Speaking of, what did happen to everyone? I don't know. Everything was still rather hazy. News was sporadic and often hearsay. There was a lot of talk about a missile defense system that no one knew we even had, that had apparently managed to shoot down something to 90% of all the enemy warheads. Wishful thinking. Based on what I was seeing, I don't really see the difference. 10% was clearly more than enough to wreak unimaginable havoc. 1% would probably have been enough. Anyway, go on. I want to get to the end. What happened at the center? At the gates, there was a screening process going on. A big plastic corridor where we were all told to undress and go through the super cool shower. After which men in gas masks and plastic coverings ran a Geiger counter over us. Seriously? So, what happened? There were 2 doors at the end of the corridor. beyond the men in masks with guns. Whenever their Geiger counters frazzled and complained, you went right. Whenever it was quiet, you went left. I went left. What about Chess and his sister? They came with me left, thank God. After the check, they gave us new threads. Honestly, they mostly look like prison garb, but at least they were not radioactive. All of our old stuff would be disposed of. I think they just gave them to the poor people going right. I saw them through the fence, heading off to God knows where in their old clothes. Many of them too tired, too sick to even walk upright. That's really sick. I can't even imagine how many millions of casualties they had to deal with. I suppose this was just them being pragmatic. Anyway, what earthly paradise were you led to then? They had set up shelters for us in the dorms and in some of the lecture halls, indoors with proper protection and daily washing and clean food. We were scheduled to stay there for just a little while, until they could relocate us somewhere safer. It all seemed very organized and controlled. Great, aside from all the millions of casualties, a happy ending. Did you have hot dream sex and then wake up? No, I'm not saying Chelsea and I weren't happy to have made it against all odds, but our happiness was, like you so kindly pointed out, relative. The world would never be the same, and we knew it, but at least we had each other. But no, that wasn't the end of the dream. Do go on. Did you rebuild society or something? How much longer is this dream? Should we maybe continue tomorrow, like a part 2 or something? No. It's almost over, but this is when it gets weird. Remember that music I heard on the radio before falling asleep? Yep. So I was taking a walk between buildings and enjoying the fine weather. Since they had given the fallout all clear, they sprayed the lawns daily and checked them for rats. When I heard it again, kind of like you'll turn the sound of thunder into explosions in a dream. No, or maybe. Actually, yes, that's not a bad analog. The music was a connection between the dream and the real world. When I heard it, it was like I suddenly remembered that I once had the dream I was currently having. I remember in the dream thinking of how incredibly unlikely that was. It was weird, okay? Dreams are weird. So the music, where did it come from? It came from the admin building. It's this big place with the rector's office and a bunch of other offices. No teaching spaces, off to the side, a bit close to the stadium. I shouldn't have heard it by any means, yet somehow I did. I walked closer, but that building wasn't a part of our turf. The doors were all under lock and key, and there was a fence cutting off the main entrance, but I knew it came from there. Okay, so what did you do? I just knew there was some connection there, some truth hidden in those tunes, something that would allow me to wake up from this nightmare, because that's what it was, every single aching, painful, awful moment of it, but it was beyond locked doors, inside a building presumably filled with men with guns. You got this far, was there really nothing you could do? Not unless I came up with some way of breaking through solid metal doors with nothing but my bare hands. But I stood there and listened to the music. That's when I felt I knew I was in a dream. This wasn't real, or it was, but it wasn't all that real. That there was an alternative version of this dream, where I'd done things differently, where my life had been different up until this moment, and as a result I had ended up somewhere else, in the stadium, with the sick, or somehow inside that building. Some kind of multiverse theory applied to strange realistic dreams. If there is an endless number of dimensions, who's to say there's not one where dreams are more real than reality? Anyway, no. More like I remembered having made certain choices about what I wanted to do with my life, how I was going to spend my time, and all those choices and a million others had led up to this moment of hopeless separation. But that if I had done differently, things would be different. Bravo, that's kind of how the arrow of time works. You do X today and maybe Y happens tomorrow. Do Y today and maybe Z happens. Yeah, except What if you can foresee where the arrow of time is going to hit? What's in? You're saying you had a prophetic dream? That's what I'm saying. The dream ended shortly after that because I knew I was in a dream, and I knew I had somehow ended up wrong. I don't want to talk about how I ended things, but it wasn't difficult. Then I woke up. Alright, so... So I got the achievement Happily Ever After, I think it was. Alright. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna read this. Yeah, so I think I have time for possibly one more in this episode to try to get another achievement. Better Prepared 4 out of 5 I also got. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna do one more. So for this one we have 2 in survival, 2 in fitness, social life is 2, and supplies is 3. Yeah, so for some of the things that are like repeated, I'll just like skip them, just so I can kind of get to the ending quicker. So like I said, yeah. I'm gonna skip some of this just until I get like a new part of this. No, I was with some friends. We were having a movie night at my place watching, I think it was actually the new Star Wars movie. There was this scene where old Han Solo was just about to get knocked over when the TV just switched. Wait, the new Star Wars? As in episode 7? One DVD? You know that dates your dream, right? I hadn't even thought about that. Sorry, go on, what happened next? Like I said, the TV suddenly turned to the emergency alert system. And yeah, they told us we were under attack. Alright, so went online to find out what was going on. Everyone was pretty terrified, some trying to make a joke out of it, but there was something about the voice on the TV that belied that. Once we figured out the net still worked, everyone was on it. So what did you find? The net was still working, but the bandwidth was severely lacking. Major news networks were either down or overloaded, but all the big search engines defaulted to some kind of government site and yeah, I remember that. Yeah. was insane. I tried to get in touch with my brother. He's the only one who's even gotten an account, but there was no reply. I spammed my... Yeah, I read that before too. Yeah, so it seems like we're going to the Fallout shelter. Alright, so Fallout shelter seemed like the best option. So let's see. Take food. Take food. So we're taking 3 food. First aid kit. Flashlight and... I don't see the crowbar. See it. Oh well. We'll see if I can still get this achievement. Yeah, so I thought it was like a mistake or something. So, yeah, this is like the bar that supposedly. Tried talking my way in. She looked at the food and then at the others and said she could let me in because I had food, but anyone who didn't have food would be left outside. What did you do? Decided to take the cleanup on her offer. But you did try to get the rest in with you, right? It was live or die, I went in alone. It's not like we had a death pact or anything. I was scared out of my wits, afraid I'd be left outside. I was just happy I was safe. Still, you had food to share. Why didn't you? She might even have relented and let in more of you if you had. There's no guarantee of that. Maybe she'd change her mind or realize how letting me in was undermining her whole war full of narrative. Cold, Alice, very cold. Anyway, I left the others behind, and the door closed behind me with a bang. I barely had time to get my bearings before she started taking command again, telling me to hurry up and empty my bags. empty your bags. She had some kind of notion she should be in charge of the supplies. What did you say to that? Asked her who put her in charge. I didn't know you had it in you. I don't know. I was tired, stressed out on my mind, panicking, and she tried to keep us outside, and now she wanted my stuff. I didn't have time for that. Not that I'm in support of this course of action. I am, but you had sort of made a deal with her. That deal was off. You go, girl. How did she react? Stunned that someone would actually stand up to her. What did she have to say for herself? She said she was the proprietor of the Rad Bar and therefore the legal owner of the Fallout shelter. That it was only out of the kindness of her heart that she allowed us inside. Allowed you, huh? Tell me about it. It reminded her nuclear war was about to go down out there, and that whatever bullcrap ownership ideas she had were quickly going out of date. There would be other forms of currency soon enough. Geez, Alice, this was, what, half an hour after the announcement? You got real fast, I guess. I mean, this was kind of what I had been preparing for. I was just mentally in that space, I guess. Anyway, a lot of people stopped and took note, and she went quiet. Did she leave you alone afterwards? The place had maybe 20 people in it, us included, but she stayed away from most of the rest of us. So yes, she did. Were you the last to arrive? No, soon after us, there were some others. These she let in without trouble, embracing one of them. This big, burly guy with a motorcycle jacket. Someone you knew? Actually, yes, Ray was his name. He lived pretty close. I mainly knew him for his love for motorcycles. I had no idea he knew the Queen. But the place was still empty? Yeah, soon after, though, there was another knock, and this time the Queen tried to do the same thing she did with me. What did you do? I stepped in. This was unacceptable. When I raised my voice at her, she just turned red. What was your approach? With force and numbers, me and my group showed up and tried to get her off. And she called her friend Ray over, and suddenly we were at a standstill. So what happened? I think a few got in during the discussion, but then she and Ray managed to close the door again, and that was that. So I guess in the end you won? Well, the alternative was that she would have won. What happened next? The end of the world happened next. The bombs, we were all underground, down a set of stairs leading to the actual bunker. It was filled with barrels and barrels of beer and other drinks, but at least there was light for a while. So it actually happened. A nuclear war? Yes, they had a radio with us, and we all sat clustered around it. At first there was sporadic reports that the U.S. missile defense system was working, that it was shooting down the incoming warheads. Then the signal turned off, and a few moments later we felt the rumble. But you were okay? The shelter did what it was designed to do, yes, although at one point there was a terrible sound just above, and the shelter was briefly filled with dust. I was pretty sure we were all dead. People were screaming, babies were crying, the lights flickered and died. It was the end. Your subconscious wasn't joking around. We subsisted on candles and flashlight and waited for the radio to come back. It did after a while. What did it say? Just about expected fallout patterns? It sounded very recorded, but I guess there had to be someone alive up there still clicking the buttons. But even that ended after a while. Wow, okay, so how long did you stay down there? Well, the radio said there was a cloud of radioactive ash coming our way within 24 hours, and told everyone to stay inside until further notice. Then it died. So, I guess you stayed at least 24 hours then. Of course, the problem came when we tried to leave. What? Well, the shelter was underground, underneath the big trap door. In the house above, it had apparently collapsed on the trap door. We tried to open it, pushed and pushed, but it wouldn't budge. That's like a real nightmare, buried alive. Well, we had food down there for a while. And if we started drinking beer with our meals, we could probably stretch it out for weeks. Of course, then we'd all be kind of drunk all the time too. But what then? Would there be rescue? Maybe. But what if there wasn't? What did the others think? Ray and his queen wanted to sit tight and wait for help. A few of the others wanted to find an alternative way out, maybe through one of the ventilation shafts. A third option would be to keep working on the trapdoor. It opened out, but if we removed the hinges and got it to collapse inward, and then dug up through the debris, radioactive debris. Yes, but the radio had mentioned falling down within 24 hours, staying put if even for just a few days longer, and then trying one of the other options might be optimal. Anyway, people were getting very antsy, so it was time to make some kind of decision. So what did you do? I voted for working on the trapdoor. The trapdoor, huh? Seems like the safest idea. What did the queen think? She was set on staying inside. She wouldn't lift a hand to help. I'm pretty sure that even if we managed to open the door to the outside, she'd still stay. Did you open the door? We managed to break open the trapdoor so that it opened inwards. This only took a few hours. The guys who had been helping me with the door were both hit by the rubble. I think one got his leg half crushed, and the other got a really nasty blow to his head that gave him a concussion. But aside from that, it must still have felt pretty great, right? Not really. For a brief moment, there was a flash of daylight from outside. But it was just a flash, like someone offering you hope just to snatch it away immediately. But at least we were reminded the sun still existed. So how much work was there? A lot. Really a lot. I wasn't alone at least, but it looked pretty bleak. So, did you go at it? Well, I also knew that the dust would be radioactive, at least to some degree. There were 5 of us there to help me clear the rubble. We needed to get it done fast if we were planning on living tomorrow. So what did you do? We started digging. It took upwards of 4 days to dig through, but by the end of it, there was a light. And then, well, I and most of the others felt like complete crap. We were throwing up. I had this absolutely awful migraine headache. Ugh, it was awful. A lot didn't make it at all. They were just too weak. It was the radioactive dust. But it didn't affect you as badly. I managed to soldier through it then. But I had a feeling I wouldn't be bearing any children with only one head after this. Why am I not laughing? Because it's not funny. So what did it look like? The world. It was destroyed. We crawled, black in the face and bleeding from our hands, into hell. The city was in rubble. Everything was covered in black ash, some of it still falling from the skies. In the distant fires, all around silence. So what did you end up doing? Well, the queen wanted to force our hand. She said in no uncertain terms that she was staying right there, that anyone who didn't want to wait for rescue was free to leave. And you? Were you free to stay? Not in a million years. She was adamant I left, me specifically, Queen Bee syndrome. The others crawled up after me. They do what I wanted. A few others joined us well, jumping camp. So what did you decide to do? I wasn't going down without a fight. That fallout shelter was ours. Whoa, I admire your moxie, but she doesn't sound like the kind of person you want to pick a fight with and lose. What was she going to do? Throw me out? I was already out. So what was your avenue of attack? I was done with her. I socked her on the jaw. You did what? The world stands in ruins around us. There are people hurt and injured all around. People in need. People who could use a shelter. And this girl and her crew is standing there essentially giving out death sentences. She deserved, at the least, a beating. but I was acting on impulse. She never saw me coming, and the element of surprise let me get within grappling distance. Half a second later, she had judo-thrown me on the ground, and we were rolling around in the dirt. But, Ray, there was a gunshot, and we both froze. Ray was standing there, smoking gun in hand. He slowly pointed it down at me, and everyone around backed away. Uh-oh. And at that exact moment, she decided to kick me in my uterus and roll out of the way. She screamed one thing: shoot her. Holy hell. He aimed the gun at me, and I started babbling and backing away. You know me, Ray. You know me. I kept saying. I'm pretty sure I cried. He just kept the guns trained on me while the Queen kept shouting at him to shoot me. Then I was outside the circle of people. I turned and ran. Alone? Yes, no one dared follow me. I don't know what happened back there after that. All I knew was I had to get away. After a few blocks, I stopped. No one was following me, luckily. So what did you do? Yeah, so it doesn't really say after this what option I should choose, so I guess it doesn't matter. I just wanted to get out of town. What did it look like? The streets, awful. Ruined buildings everywhere, charred by fire, most of them. We had to pick our way between cars and debris and bodies. There were so many bodies. It makes me sick just to think about it. Must have been pretty difficult to travel. Yes, although it was oddly inconsistent, I think my building was the last one directly affected by the blast. About a block in the opposite direction, there were mainly intact buildings, unless you could call them intact, I guess, still standing. What about others? Were there any survivors on the streets? Yeah, there were others. A lot of them were a lot worse off than me. Some were blind, others were burned, broken, or in shock. There just wasn't anything I could do. Where was the government? I don't know. No one knew. I hadn't heard a single ambulance siren since the event. For all we knew, there was nothing left. Did you figure out where to go? I started coming across survivors soon enough. People like me, some with backpacks and some with just the clothes on their backs. It was absolutely wretched to see them. Some were staying put, but most were moving. Rumor had it there was an evacuation center set up at the college. What, like your college? Yeah, talk about going back to where you started. Go on, how did it go? It was pretty slow going, and even though I tried to keep out of the black rain, there wasn't all that much we could do, but at least we had a goal, and others to help us get there. I made a briefing mask out of a spare shirt, although I'm not sure it helped much. So it was real. The evacuation center? Not so fast. There was a slight obstacle still on the way. Oh, what's that? The river. The government, there was a line of soldiers wearing full NBC protection gear, gas masks and all, directing traffic. Rescued at last? Well, they did let us all through, but what? So, the evacuation center of my college, I'm not surprised I dreamed about it. It's like at the center of my life right now. It's the part. So I'm gonna skip this because pretty much already read it. They let us to the football stadium. Can you believe that? They didn't even care enough about us to get us out of the fallout. They had at least set up tents, stoves, and a kitchen for us, all staffed by similarly irradiated people, of course, presumably serving us irradiated food they didn't want to feed to the healthy ones. This can't be where your story ends. No, the weirdest part was still about to happen. Yeah, so the music. Well, as I was lying there on my no doubt lethally radioactive mattress staring up at the sky, about half a second away from tears, I heard it again. Kind of like you'll turn the sound of thunder into explosions in a dream. Yeah, so she remembered that it was a dream. The football stadium is connected to one of the campus buildings by a long covered annex. They had put down the gates and locked them, but I could still go all the way there. Beyond the gate, beyond the annex, and the building across, it was the admin building, you know, where the students' office and rector's office and all those were located. There was an open window with a light on. That's where the music came from. Pretty amazing, you could hear it from all the way over there. I knew there was some connection there, some truth hidden in those tunes, something that would allow me to wake up from this nightmare. But it was beyond locked gates inside another building, presumably filled with soldiers with guns. Gus's father. Was there really nothing you could do? I stared out the open window, listened to the music, and that's when I felt I knew I was in a dream. This wasn't real. So, I'm not sure if I even got that achievement. It was Shelter Team. Oh, I needed to have at least 5 playthroughs to unlock the crowbar. That's why. So this was the 5th playthrough. That makes sense. Yeah, so I'll probably do this again, like outside of like recording, just so I can get that achievement. But I did get better prepared, so I mean that's something. But anyway, that's going to be it for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a long one, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I think I'm just about done with getting all the achievements. So, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you for the next one.